Doula Date Live. I'm Jen. I'm a doula. I've been a doula for several years. I'm also a nurse. And last time we talked about what a doula does, who she is, how she can support you in your birth. We talked about C-sections, we covered postpartum recovery and care, and today we're really excited to talk to you about back labor.
Yeah, I'm Madison Hobbs. I've been a doula for about 1.5 years, and we're really excited to be back with another live video this week talking about back labor. We're going to kind of go over what causes it, what we can do to help it, some things that maybe you can do prenatally to help reduce the risk of it. I know that it's a big fear for moms who are getting ready to go into labor, that I don't want to have back labor, and it's not always something we can prevent, but it's definitely something that we can help.
Or if you're asking what is back labor, I'm pregnant or I'm wanting to get pregnant and this is something new to me.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're just going to kind of go over some of the anatomical reasons that back labor might happen so that it's not such a mystery as to am I going to have back labor, and then kind of different techniques that we can use to help that when it happens. Yeah. So one of the biggest reasons that back labor happens is baby's position. As baby moves through the birth canal, his head can be facing several different directions, and based on where the back of baby's head is, it can either put pressure on the front of the pelvis or on your sacrum. And if the back of baby's head is putting pressure on your sacrum, that's when you're going to have a lot of back labor as baby's moving down along your spine into the birth canal, getting ready to come out. And another reason that can happen, in addition to baby's position, maybe baby's not putting direct pressure on your sacrum, but if you have low flexibility or you have really tight tendons and ligaments in your pelvis, some of those things are going to exacerbate back labor when you have those contractions, because everything's being pulled forward and down and up in different directions, and all those ligaments that are attached to your back are going to pull
and
forward.
A lot of moms who say, oh, I had an OP baby, or my baby was born posterior or sunny side up. Back labor is a common thing with those labors, but it's not always present either way. You can have an OA or a normal facing baby and not have have back labor, or vice versa. So either way, it's really good to consider some of the things we're going to talk about prenatally and during your labor, and your doula or your support person in your birth will be your lifesaver when it comes to relieving your back labor.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off talking about some of our favorite things to use during labor to help with back labor, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do prenatally, primarily exercise, yoga, chiropractic, things like that.
Swimming.
Yes,
baths.
absolutely.
If you have a really big bathtub and you can get in there.
We love water.
Yes.
And then we've got a whole bunch of different things that we can use during labor, and so we've got this neat little jar full of all of our sticks that if we get to it, we can pull some and see what comes up that we can discuss that we haven't already. So I'm going to start
I
with...
love that jar.
Isn't it cute?
That's cute.
I know, I love it. No, I got it as a gift. I think it's for my stepmom.
Oh, so it's adorable.
I know, I love it. I use it on my desk for all my pins and stuff. So I'm going to start with one of my favorites. It's a TINS unit. So it looks like this. It's super cute, kind of little. If you've ever been to a chiropractor and they put the little sticky pads on your back that give a little electrical stimulation, that's exactly what this is. It has been approved by the FDA to use during labor. We don't recommend using it prior to labor because it can induce labor, but it has been proven once you're in active labor to help alleviate back pain.
And a TINS unit is really interesting because you might put the applicators on the spot or on the point of pain, and what it does is it puts out electrodes and stimulation to make your brain create a response or a hormone, the oxytocin or pain relief. It stimulates your natural pain relief by stimulating a part on your body.
Yeah, so not only does it help release some hormones, but it also acts on the gate theory. And so having these signals into your nerves, it tricks your brain into focusing more on these signals that are more consistent and kind of sporadic and random than the big long pain of a contraction. So your brain focuses more on the tiny little electric that feels really good instead of the big contraction. And so while it's not actually taking pain away, it's tricking your brain into ignoring the pain.
And so in your births, do you use a different intensity? How do you titrate it during a contraction versus during rest?
So it depends on the moms. We start really low in early labor. Sometimes we try and start before back labor even begins, just during active labor. Just because with moms who have had back pain in the past, we know they're going to have some back pain, and the earlier we can get it on, the more relief you're going to get. Once you get to that threshold of this is so painful, this isn't going to really do much. So we try and start it early, we start it low, and mom has complete control. There's 2 little knobs at the top that control each side. There will be 4 pads on your back, and mom has complete control. She can turn it up and down how she pleases. She can turn it up to what she needs to when contractions happen. There's also different modes that can help it change intensity all on its own.
Right.
And so it'll go quicker, it'll go slower, it'll be bigger bursts, smaller bursts, more intense, less intense. And so that also helps because then your body doesn't become accustomed to that signal, and it doesn't start to feel like nothing, and you have to turn it up constantly.
Right.
So there's a lot of different things that we can change and do, but what I absolutely love is that mom is in control. I put it on, I show her how it works, and then she uses it how she wants through all of labor.
Right.
So I absolutely love this, and I personally have taken a training in a TENS unit to use it.
And that's awesome. That is something not all doulas have or use or are trained on. So Madison is unique in that she uses that, and that's a huge pain relief for moms.
I love it, and I use it personally too.
And you can order them off of Amazon. You don't have to be trained or certified. It helps to understand how it's working in your body and how to be more effective and beneficial. But if your doula doesn't have one, you can order one yourself, or the support person that you're having at your birth can become acquainted with the TENS unit before you go into labor.
Yeah, absolutely. You certainly don't need to be trained, but it does help.
Yes.
You want to talk about your...
Sure. So some things that I use for back labor, the biggest thing that I use, I have some tricks and props over here, but they're my hands. And I love to use dad in conjunction to help me. So usually I have dad or support person up by mom's face, coaching her, talking to her, and then I'm at her back doing hip squeezes and counter pressure. So if you think about it, and this is your pelvis, and baby's coming, well, it'd be this way, coming down and hitting against that tailbone, it's a lot of pain on top of your labor pain. So to alleviate that, so the first thing we need to do is correct baby's position. So we're going to try to get to the root cause of the problem right away. Going to have mom turning on the peanut ball, turning in positions, lunging, squatting, depends on what stage we're in labor and what we can get her to do. So, but as far as immediate pain relief, hip squeezes and counter pressure. So hip squeezes look like just one on each, hand on each hip, and you're squeezing in every time that mom has a contraction.
That helps open the pelvis in front.
Yes. And then counter pressure as well. So if there's a nurse or another support person or dad, you know, mom's doing okay emotionally and she wants extra support physically on her back, dad can be pushing in the back to alleviate the pain while the doula can hip squeeze. And that's nice to do because this is tiring and this gets tiring, and you can trade off muscle groups with dad or the nurse or whoever's in the room and offer mom some relief. So that is probably the first thing that I go to use, and I'll have her get in hands and knees, all fours if she doesn't feel like lying on her side or doing a ball or lunges. And then we also do, depending on what she thinks will feel good, we use a rice sack. And this comes with different covers, and you can heat it up in the microwave at the hospital and it stays warm. And it also is nice because it typically does not, if you follow instructions, so doulas that are listening, heat this up for like a minute 30, it'll stay warm and not get too hot. Just test it on your own skin. But this heat will distract mom from the intense back labor and pain that is going on. Or if she needs a little bit of a break, she's had a lot of hands-on, a lot of pressure, a lot of friction on her back, and we want to take a break, we can do some cool pads. And you just have these right when you walk into the birth. I like to stick them in the fridge in the room, or ask the nurses at the nurses station in the nutrition room to put them in there as well. And then also massage. So when you're doing the hip squeezes and you're doing the counter pressure on the back, the oil is really nice to have because mom's skin can start to experience some friction, breakdown and rubbing that just doesn't feel well. And I think you have You have the massage tools. And
I
then
do.
The roller
we
ball.
both have
so
the roller balls.
Madison has these. I'll let her talk about them.
I absolutely love these roller balls. They are a massage tool. It's just a little ball inside of a holder. But what's really nice about this is that it helps with that friction. I love using, I was afraid this was gonna roll away, but I love using tennis balls because they're round and they're soft, and but when you're massaging, the doula's hand as well as the skin is going to be rubbing more. There's going to be more contact with the tennis ball, whereas with these rollers there's not quite as much. Your doula's or your partner's not going to get as tired because they're not actually rolling with it. You can get a lot more pressure because you can push harder without it pushing into your hand.
Interesting with how much pressure a mom wants, like these little tiny mamas, and Dad and we're putting our full body force into her back, and she wants the pressure. So having these saves your hands, doulas, partners, moms, if you're thinking about who's going to support you in your birth team.
Yeah, and what's nice about these too is it's super smooth. So it's easy to put massage oil on here, whereas if you put it on a tennis ball, you're never getting it out.
Where did you find these at?
I found this one on Amazon. This one was only about $5.
So they're affordable.
So they're quite cheap. They're super awesome, very durable, very nice. And then I also love this for counter pressure. So there's specific
And I see
points.
a lot of you coming on, so if you're wondering what we're talking about back labor and ways to alleviate it. So thank you for joining us.
Yes,
We've had a ton
thank you.
Jumping on.
Sweet, awesome, welcome. So this is one of my favorite for counter pressure, especially with the back pain. There's two spots, right at the top of the pelvis. You can't see where I'm pointing, so I don't know why I'm doing that. But there's two spots at the top of the pelvis, just right on the side of your spine, that feels really good when you push on it. Your partner, your
I know which
doula,
spots you're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
They're my own back.
Yes, I know. Right now, I'm like, let's do that. So those are really good spots, and moms want those pushed. But again, moms want a lot of pressure when they're in labor, which is good. It helps alleviate that. But our thumbs are gonna get tired. Yes, exactly. Our thumbs get tired. But if you put anything else, it's too big because the spot's so small. So what I love about this, it's just a simple massage tool. It's got two smaller ones and two bigger ones. Kind of looks like a little man.
And it fits right in those spots perfectly.
And it does. It's perfectly spaced. You just push right on in there, and it gives your support person a little bit of a break and more ability, more leverage to push even harder. If you want more pressure than their hands alone are going to be able to give. So I love using this for counter pressure as well as balls and hip squeezes and all of that. So
perfect.
I love these things.
So what are some things prenatally we can do to ward off the evil spirits of back labor and pain in labor?
Yeah, so a lot of it is exercise, doing different pelvic floor exercises, strengthening those muscles so that baby can find the right spot. A lot of times if your muscles are not quite ready for labor, baby can just move however she wants. So strengthening those pelvic floor muscles are going to help guide baby into the right position. And then as well as loosening those ligaments, you can do that through prenatal yoga, prenatal stretching, a lot of getting down on the floor, squatting, stretching out your hips, your low back, your thighs. All that's going to stretch those tendons and give you a lot more flexibility so that your pelvis isn't quite as tight. When baby does maybe get into a compromised position, it's not going to feel quite as intense. Another thing is to go get adjustments from a chiropractor. If you don't already have a chiropractor and you're looking for one specifically for prenatal adjustments, find one who's Webster certified. It's a specific technique that'll help adjust the pelvis and all of the muscles within your low back and your pelvis to prepare you for birth.
And if you need recommendations, just DM us. We have chiropractors that we really trust and refer to often.
Absolutely. And so getting one of those adjustments, even just once, is going to increase your chance of having an easier labor, even if you do experience back pain. Going frequently while you're pregnant is going to be your best option, in addition to prenatal yoga. Yeah, all those stretches. And if you want specific information on what stretches to do, what exercises to do, what yoga to do, maybe even a recommendation of a yoga instructor or a studio, send us a message. We'll be posting some positions later on in the comments on this video.
We'll put some resources and references for you guys that
Yeah,
are interested.
absolutely.
So,
But if you want more, give us a shout. We've got lots to share with you guys.
and the point is that you need your core strong and your pelvis open and good mobility within your hips and pelvis so that baby can move into the position. Babies are super smart. They know which way they're going and turning their heads, and one of the best things is you cannot turn baby into a bad position. So you can only work towards a better outcome. So as you're moving in labor or prenatally and you're thinking, is this bad for my baby? It's only baby will only get into a better position. So that's something to keep in mind. Don't be afraid to do the exercises, the stretching, the adjustments, and the different things that your doula is suggesting in labor. And one thing, when you are in labor and you're experiencing back labor, if this comes up, just remember, when your doula and your nurse and your team are asking you to turn, it is really normal for that first contraction to be even more excruciating. So I'm almost saying, no, this is worse. But trust your doula is going to push you through that, because when it's getting worse, it's actually getting better. So when she asks you to get in that position with the peanut ball, leg up, and they're doing the counter pressure, this is worse. Give it 1, 2, or 3 contractions before you can fully rule out that this position is not working for you. A good rule, I like to do 15-minute stations, that's several contractions, and then once things have gotten better, mom's like, oh, this is much better, we're gonna turn again. So it's labor, it's work, but it's gonna result in better outcomes for your experience and your baby as well.
Yeah. We're rocking baby down. That's all we're doing. We're doing everything we can to make you move so that baby moves into the right position, and sometimes baby hits an uncomfortable spot and it's gonna make it more painful, but we're rocking baby down.
That's why you have your doula.
Yeah, that's what we're there for. And we're there for those comfort measures too when it does get painful, that those verbal affirmations of this is okay. Because I think fear and pain is a lot worse than pain and understanding. That if you know I'm in pain, but neither of us are in danger, it's going to be a lot easier to get through than having that fear of, I'm in pain, this is worse, what's going to happen, is baby okay? And your doula is going to be able to understand and reassure you and your partner that this is okay. It hurts, yes, it does, but you're both safe, and this is what needs to get done.
It's like having your personal trainer at the gym. This part of the workout, this is the hardest part, this is where we're at, this is normal, that heavy breathing, this pain here. And that helps you so much. Just bring your mind in and know that you're safe, you're okay, and you're doing what you have to do to bring your baby into the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think we're going to turn to our handy dandy sticks now.
Madison's
fun little sticks.
She's so good.
I'm so excited. It's like a game.
She's the best if you're looking for a doula.
You are too. We highly recommend each other. So some of these I know that we've already talked about. So if we come across it, we might add something else. But yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we talked about counter pressure, but if you're just signing on and listening to this, so hip squeezes and counter pressure, they're different. I'll demonstrate. This is counter pressure. If mom's back is right here, I'm pushing into her back, while hip squeezing, we're going this way. So counter pressure, yes, opens the pelvis.
Yes. All right.
Chiropractic.
Woohoo! We talked about that one too. But
I love you, chiropractors.
Yes.
You're the best.
Again, if you're just joining, there are chiropractors who are Webster certified. So that's a specific technique. They go through a training and they get certified once they're already chiropractors to work specifically with the pelvis and the ligaments of pregnant women, and to help open your pelvis and encourage flexibilities to make labor a little bit easier.
I want to add something with the chiropractic, which you probably will be told if you go to the chiropractor. When you're at home sitting, or if you're crawling around on the floor with your kids, that's great. If you're sitting watching TV, can you be sitting on a birth ball? Can you be sitting in different positions? I'm not going to do it here and fall off of my chair, but can you be sitting like a half lotus or an Indian style? And recliners are so comfortable. I love them. But when you're sitting back and you're putting your weight back into your pelvis, that is what is going to negate the effects of baby turning into a good position. So if you have to pick a way, can you sit up in your recliner? Can you sit forward? Can you sit on the floor? Maybe be doing like an Indian style butterfly stretch with your hips. Can you keep neutral or forward on like a birthing ball? So you're already super uncomfortable with your belly, but just think you want to be sitting upright or a little bit forward versus back in your hips.
Yeah, definitely focus on your posture. Especially when you're doing exercises or prenatal yoga, you need to focus more on your posture than you would before. Otherwise, again, baby's going to get into a compromised position. And that's another thing that we'll comment on this, a sheet of exercises to focus specifically on your posture. So, all right.
Wanna do 2 more?
Sure.
Ooh, hands and knees.
Yay! So we mentioned that one briefly. It's a good position for hip squeezes, for counter pressure, for massage, for all of this. But what it's going to do is bring that pressure, it's going to use gravity to bring pressure off of your spine. It's going to bring baby's body forward. So even if baby's head is still on your spine and your sacrum, at least the body is not. And doing, I think there's another one in here.
Rebozo.
Yeah, we got rebozo, and then we also have cat-cow, and those both go along with hands and knees. So cat-cow is, you're going to be, if you're familiar with yoga, you know what it is. You're going to be rocking your back up and down, kind of like this. I can't get my arm to move that
Cow's
way.
belly is really big and full of hay, so it sinks down. So you sink your belly into the ground. And then a cat is scared and afraid and arched up, so then its back is up. And that is Madison can describe the effects of what's up.
So that's going to help rock your pelvis. So not only is baby now off of your back, it's going to help rotate baby's head because your pelvis is now moving like this. Baby's going to start turning and getting into the right position. So maybe the back of the head, which is the heaviest part, gravity's going to help bring the head down. You want the back of the head to be forward towards your belly rather than your back. So using gravity, rocking your hips, that's going to bring baby forward. And another one we mentioned was the rebozo, which if you don't know what a rebozo is, it's basically like a big long scarf that we can use to help with different counter pressure and things like that. So when you're on your hands and knees, a good one to use the rebozo with is you wrap it around the belly, and then mom leans forward on her hands so that she's, laying on the ground in her arms, her bottom is up, and pulling back on the belly to help alleviate some of that pressure and help baby move into the right position in the pelvis.
And if you don't have a rebozo, you can use a bed sheet or any fabric that can support your weight. Fold it and make it work to what you need it to. And there's videos, and we'll include some links of yoga postures, videos. We'll put some resources for you guys when we repost this on Facebook or Instagram TV in the comments or in the description for where you can find these resources at.
Absolutely.
Should we do one more?
One more.
Okay, better make it good.
Yes, please. I know which one I want it to be. That's the one we just did.
Okay, which one do you want it to be?
I could just talk about it.
It's more exciting.
Yay, that was the one I wanted it to be. It's water. We love water. So getting in a bath or a shower is going to help with all kinds of labor pain tremendously. The biggest thing for back labor is if you can use the shower head to direct the spray onto your back. It's going to get that counter pressure, it's going to get that warmth or the cool depending on how you're feeling. And water itself is just magic.
And you can be sitting on a ball in the shower during your labor.
Yes.
So then you're going to have 2 things working for you synergistically. The ball that spreading in that position is going to help your hips open up, and then the water at the same time. What about bathtubs and swimming and things in labor and prenatally?
Yeah, so bathtubs are one of my favorites in labor. The water is honestly just magic. It just alleviates so much pain the moment you get into the water.
And baby will love it too.
Yes.
If it's prenatal, baby will be very active in the water, and they can move around easier, and they want to be in a good position, so you're helping both of you.
Yeah. I mean, think about when you're in a swimming pool, how much more mobility you have to be able to float around and move around, and that's what the womb is like. And without that constant gravity, when your belly's in the water, baby's going to be able to move better in the water as well. So that's why swimming is really good. It gives baby more mobility to move into the right position prenatally, and then while you're in labor, not only does it take away some of that pain, you can direct it, but then you can also do these other things while you're in the water. The ball, the hands and knees, counter pressure, hip squeezes, all of that, and it's just going to add another layer of pain relief.
Sure. Well, I think we've covered there's always so much more to learn.
There is.
And
We covered pretty much
back labor, we could go on forever, but we will be back and we'll talk about other things again. If you guys have suggestions, questions, things you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments, send us a DM, and I wonder what we'll talk about next time. Do you have any ideas?
I don't right now, but I'm sure we'll figure out.
Maybe we'll do something breastfeeding, tongue and lip ties. I know we have that coming up, and then we can also do some more things birth related.
Yeah.
So.
And if you have any ideas for upcoming videos, make a comment, send us
Yeah,
a message.
let us
We
know.
would love it.
Yes, well, thanks for joining our Doula Date Live, and we will see you guys again.
Thanks.